Hello everybody, welcome back. Andrew here, and today's video is going to be a lot of fun if you think ear training is fun. But I'm going to give you two quizzes today to see how well you can discern and recognize different scales. And we're going to focus on the first test only on major and minor scales, which are the most important by far. And for the second test, we're going to focus on the diatonic modes, so major and minor, but also Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, and Locrian. Before we continue, I'm going to give you two references you can use if you want to brush up on your knowledge of scales and ear training. First of all, this video here covers every single scale, or kind of, but certainly all the scales we're going to look at today. So major and minor, but also all the diatonic modes. And you don't have to watch all of it, you can just focus on those scales. I talk about the formulas, their sound, it's very informative. And the second one is, if you're not well versed in ear training, you might want to check this video out. And this video will walk you through the idea of recognizing intervals, so the tiniest parts of scales, and then you can kind of put them all together to get to what we're doing today. But the good thing about today's video is that you don't need to actually know everything about intervals before you do it. As a matter of fact, for a lot of people, it's a lot easier to hear the sound of a full scale instead of going microscopically into every interval that makes it up. So don't think you have to know all of this in order to do this today. As a matter of fact, I think you'll have a lot of fun just simply trying to figure them out. And even if you don't know how to recognize them yet, just going through this exercise or this test several times will do wonders to your ear. I'm gonna go ahead now and give you the test, but before, I'm going to give you just a couple of tips, and you can use them throughout this whole thing. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about how to distinguish, or how to make it easier to distinguish between major and minor scales. So here's a quick tip to help you recognize major and minor for our first test. Now, the major scale sounds like this, and the minor scale sounds like this. The difference between these two scales is this note here, which is lower the half step, the third, and also the 6 and 7 are lower the half step as well. And so when you start hearing the scale, you'll very soon realize whether it's a happy, bright major scale when you hit this third note, or a darker, sadder minor scale. It's when you hit the third note. So if I get to the third note and it sounds all good and happy, I know that I'm in major. Whereas if it sounds darker and sad, I know it's minor. Right? So that's the main thing. Listen to the third note and you'll know that it's major or minor. And the beautiful thing about this is that if I don't play them too fast, and I won't on the test, you'll be able to go, I think that was happy, but I'm not sure. Well, just listen to the 6th and 7th. They're also brighter than their minor counterparts. You see, so when I go to the minor, did I hear a minor one? Well, I don't know, but let me hear the 6 and 7. Right? They're mellower than the major. And so that's what I would suggest. Go through the whole test, listening to the third note, and you still have your backup here if you need more help. The 6 and 7 will give it to you. So without any further ado, let's start our major and minor scale recognition test right now. Just as between major and minor, the difference resides in mainly three notes, the flat third, the flat sixth, and the flat seven. For the other modes, the difference tends to reside in one other note when compared to the major and minor. For example, Lydian is the same as a major scale really, but with a sharp 11. And Mixolydian is the same as a major scale with a flat 7. So if you have your major sound and your minor sound figured out, understanding the modes is a lot easier and recognize them is a lot easier, because you just go like, oh, it sounds like a major scale, but this note is different, so it must be Lydian or Mixolydian. And for minor, it's kind of the same thing. I'm going to show you now a little bit into more detail these differences, and then I'll give you the test. Now, when it comes to modes, of course, I do suggest you watch that video I told you about, because I give you the formulas and everything. But the beautiful thing about the modes, the diatonic modes, is that they are very slight variations of the major and minor scale, which if it worked out for you, you already know how to recognize. So let me tell you a little something about first the major modes. The first major mode, of course, is the major scale, also called Ionian, which we already looked at. But now I want to focus on the note that will change when I make it into one of the modes. And the first major mode we'll look at is called Lydian. The Lydian scale is the same as a major scale, but the fourth note is sharp. Okay? So all you have to do, first of all, if you still need help with major and minor, focus on this note here, the third, and then listen to the next note. Is it a normal sound you're used to, which is the regular fourth, or is it the edgier sound of the F sharp? And that's where the secret is, right? That's the note that will tell you if it's Lydian or major. So that's the first trick for the first one. For Mixolydian, which is the second major mode, it's maybe even simpler, because it sounds exactly like a major scale all the way through the last note, and then it goes like this instead of, right? So the way I look at it, it's a bit more sophisticated. It sounds a little more mellow, right? It's not as defining as this. You see that this step is really conclusive. Listen, you hear that? It's like, I'm done, right? Whereas when I play the flat, is not as finished, quite the same as it when you play the natural seventh. So again, I play major, and now Mixolydian. Then you should be able to tell the difference. Now, when I play them all in sequence for you, it's going to be harder, but that's what you want to listen for. When it comes to minor modes, there are two other minor modes other than the regular minor scale, which is also called Aeolian. But we're going to start from that actually. So that's our minor scale, which you already know. Now let's see what happens with the other modes. The first mode you run into is called Dorian. And Dorian is the same as a minor scale, but the sixth note is major, all right? So it goes same as minor, but this note gets changed to this. And again, that's what you have to focus on. Now, probably this is the most ambiguous one when you hear the scale. It just really pulls you towards minor. When you actually play it in context over chords, or if you improvise, this is a wonderful mode. But when you try to recognize them, a lot of people have trouble with it in the beginning. So this is the sound you're looking for. It's bright and happy. It's borrowed actually from the major scale, whereas minor is like this. Very easy to tell now, but when you play the scale, it's a bit harder. Let me show it to you again. Minor, Dorian. I think one of the difficulties is that you have to wait quite a long time to hit the strange note, so your ear might get confused. Also, remember, it's only one note difference. Once you hit this minor third, think about this note now. Are you hearing this, or are you hearing this? And that will tell you if you're in minor or Dorian. The next minor mode is Phrygian. Now, Phrygian is really easy to tell. Phrygian is the same as a minor scale again, but the note that changes is actually the second one, and it's lower the half step. And you get this very exotic sounding half step from the root. And now if you listen to the whole scale, So you'll be able to tell right away as soon as you start hearing that scale, minor, Phrygian. It's kind of easy to tell because it hits you right as soon as you start playing the scale. You already get the information. Oh, it's Phrygian, you know. So that's the idea. Now there's one more mode, and we will use it, and it's called Locrian. The Locrian scale, it's a bit weird, and it's the same as a minor scale, but with a flat 2 and a flat 5. So overall, it's kind of like Phrygian, but with a flat 5. The G is G flat now. And again, this is quite easy to recognize because of this sound. And my suggestion is, as always, get as much information as you can in the beginning. So as soon as I hear Locrian, I'm already hearing the flat 2. So I'm like, okay, this is either Phrygian or Locrian. And then I keep listening, and I know that I'm focusing on this note here that will tell me, okay, it's Locrian. If I heard this, it would be Phrygian. With this in mind, let's try our diatonic modes test and see if you can recognize Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. Good luck! Well, I hope you enjoyed this little quiz. Don't forget, you can keep doing this as many times as you want, and even if you can't recognize them right now, it's still really good to get them into your ear and then look at the solution after that, or you can just actually listen to them while knowing which ones I'm playing. It all works out in the end. You know, the thing is just get your ears used to these sounds. I hope you had fun. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below how this goes for you, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.